to grab your balls and go. And how do you grab your balls? You cannot be like, oh, you have to hold the man and move, Yeah, so let's check out these addictions and look at them and see what they are, where they are coming from. Is there a way to stop them, and what's the reason behind them, and also a few types of addictions. Well, what types of addictions there are out there. Um, all right, great. So let's see. Let's start with first and foremost, what are addictions? What do you think are
What are
addictions?
addictions? Where do I always have to start defining the thing?
Because you are like,
I think
but I can start if you want. Like, I don't mind.
okay, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the way that I see addictions is it's like it can be anything that is going to affect your life in a negative way, as in like something that you cannot start you cannot continue your day or your daily living without having that dose of something, whatever it might be, but it's affecting you, it's impacting you negatively. It's not something that
Mm.
is constructing or helping you in any in a positive way. So
Ah,
that's how I
that's
see
how you
it.
see it.
Like,
Okay. Well, I would say that an addiction, it's it could be it could be a behavior, it could be a substance, a thing that we create some kind of dependency on it. But uh, it can be helpful, but also can as you said, it can harm us. That I think that would be the difference from what I see as an addiction from what you just said. I think certain addictions to things, to stuff or something, it can help you. It can help you on something. But it's just the fact that we create this dependency to it. Yeah. Um, I don't see addictions as exclusively a negative thing. Let's put it that way.
I see it a bit as it's a barrier because for example, if we cannot start our day without getting, I don't know, coffee or nicotine or exercises, if you don't have, if you cannot like just be fresh all the time without getting that thing, whatever it may be, then that's what I call addiction. Like, you cannot go on with your day without having. And of course, some of them it's good because like it's a positive aspect, because let's say it takes you out of a state that maybe you don't want to be, so then it just makes you a bit more happy, or then you can start doing what you are about to do in the day. But it's still, I see it as a negative way, because we don't have the self-regulating capacity to, we are always depending, as you said, we are depending on
Mm-hmm.
that to get us moving, let's say, or doing something, or um
But okay, so you see, you use a word right now that actually I liked it a little bit more. It's some kind of barrier, right?
mhm.
Um, so first of all, yeah, emphasizing the fact that it's a self-created dependency. Yeah. Sure, coffee. Using like a hard example, like coffee will help you to perform better in physical exercises. That's a fact that has been studied. That doesn't mean that you are unable to perform if you do not consume coffee, right? So the thing is that maybe some people eventually develop this dependency to coffee, and is when we have all these famous phrases that I cannot start the day without coffee, right? No, yes, you can. Yeah, and sure, that person might be very productive in whatever he's doing. I use just the physical exercise because at least that's where there's some kind of data. but at the same time, the mental fragility to ourselves, like from ourselves, that's deciding that I need this thing. I depend. I cannot do this exercise or work if I don't have this substance, right?
Yeah.
So totally agree. Maybe I can do the activity, but I will call out weakness, mental weakness. And there is where I will use the sentence that you are using right now, the part about unable to do something, unable to perform. Not necessarily the actual activity, but the mental weakness against the substance of or the thing, right? And I think that's a very important aspect of ourselves that we need to be capable of self-regulate, as you also say, right? Because in theory, especially when we talk about external sources, we do not need many of these enhancers. Let's put it this way. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Mm-hmm. We might need. I mean, we need water and some kind of energy, right? And water,
yeah,
air,
but
and
I
that
mean,
kind of stuff. I mean,
we cannot bring
that's
water.
not an addiction, obviously. I'm addicted to air.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the basic need, the basic necessary things that have to keep us alive and functionable, like those. Those are not addictions, definitely.
Yeah, sure. But now that I'm thinking, and what I'm saying is that it's a lot comes through the mental state, the mental definition that we have against the thing.
It's all mental.
Yeah, the thing, right? It is when we decide that I depend on this, yeah, or even people, right? We can
we depend on people. Yeah, but this is what okay, so 1 second, let's not let's so one more time, let's redefine again addiction. I will let you go with it first to have a more, let's say, concise or narrowed the way that we see, narrow definition, like
okay, so it's a self-created dependency on something.
Yeah. Okay.
That will be. Did I get a point, teacher?
You got a star. Here you go.
That's a pimple.
But yeah, all right. So great. So so it is a self-created thing that we think that we need that in order to do XYZ or whatever it may be. All right, great. So let's look now types of addictions. And I think we kind of like already answered like previously, like addictions are not just, it's not just substance addiction, or it can be anything. People, as you said, behaviors, attitudes, just many things can be an addiction.
The last thing, okay, you were talking about types of addictions, right? We mentioned just a very quick examples, like the coffee, which is a substance, right? Or people, which is not a substance.
Yeah, so
actually, this is why I try to use the word in the definition, like the thing, right? Because obviously it can be many stuff.
Yes.
I think the key part is when we decide, when we define it as a need, right? Like as soon as I think I cannot do something without the thing, yeah. Now, when we talk about types of addictions, the things that comes to my mind is not necessarily the thing, but how it happens, right? I said a lot of it is mental, right? I think the main pillar for an addiction is the mental component when we decide to do so. But I'm also aware that some things, some substances create certain reactions in ourselves, involuntary reactions. Like the coffee. The coffee does make a biochemical reaction, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in the brain.
So I think sometimes for certain things it can be a little bit complicated, or not complicated. I think the approach to that addiction, it would be different than talking about the addiction to an activity, to a sport, or to a person. Yeah, I think it wouldn't be the same. And for me in that moment, because the solution to something, it's different for me, would be a different type of addiction. So there are addictions that influence involuntary on us because of biochemical reactions, and maybe another ones that are completely our brains playing ourselves, right? Which is like the easy one is depending on people, right? And I think we even talked about it in past episodes in terms of this void, emotional voids, right? And then we think that we depend emotionally on someone else. I don't know if what do you think about that, or
All right, so 1 second, let me see if I grasp all that. It's a bit difficult for me to keep so much information in my head at once. So okay, so you are saying that having like a substance abuse and having an abuse to exercise, an addiction to exercise, for example, you will treat these two different. Is this what you were saying? That you cannot treat, like, treating the addiction of substance and treating the addiction of being addicted to exercising, you will treat them differently. Is this what you were trying to say?
yes, I think so.
Okay, and then when we said that we can also get addicted, I think I remember when we discussed this in attachment, when we do get addicted to people to feel a void or an emptiness in our or being, or when we feel too anxious, we tend to kind of like grasp on people and hold on them, and it's calming us down when we have certain people around us. Is this what you mean?
Yeah. I think those are like three cases that there would be different type of addiction for me, because you need a different type of solution. Yeah. That's how I would identify different types of addiction. So like, what kind of solution do I need to apply to this thing? Oh, I need to get this approach, right? That's how I would classify it, right? But I don't know for you, when we talk about different types of addictions, what comes to your mind?
Well, as I said, different types of addiction can be anything. Can be substance addiction, people, attitudes, behaviors, anything that is compulsive, like any compulsive thing that you're just doing, it repeatedly. That's basically an addiction. So it's not just substance. It's many things that you do it compulsively. And yeah, this is what I see as different types of addiction. Now, how we can treat, or not say treat, I would say, because it's not a, well, I don't know, but the way that we can get rid of these addictions, I believe is first and foremost understanding your I don't want to call it problem, but understand your issue, your addiction, and see it, like, be aware first of all, and understand that, okay, I'm doing this, I don't know, I'm having way too much nicotine, and understand why you are doing it.
It's because yeah, sure, like we can take like specific cases, like I think nicotine, caffeine, sugar, discarding the actual drugs like heroin and that kind of stuff, those require a very different type of treatment. Sure, caffeine is not that hard, right? But a lot of people think that only mentally you can overcome a lot of this kind of stuff, right? Sure, some substances will be easier to get rid of, right? I think you are an example with the sugar one, right?
And nicotine.
You understood something, yeah, you understood your situation, and then you decided, bye-bye, right? And I think that would be the first general approach that we all need to take to any kind of addiction, right? I identify why this is not beneficial to me, and then decide and apply. Now, something like nicotine, or all the way to, as I said, like cocaine, heroin, or something like that, I think it goes beyond the mind. I think it goes something even extra that needs to be done to these kind of situations, because sometimes I am in a belief that you can actually damage the whole, especially in this case, neurological system by consuming certain stuff. Example, pre-workouts. I don't know if you ever were a pre-workout consumer or even energetic beverages like Monsters or things like that. Every time, for example, when I consume, like, let's say one week, and then suddenly I cut it off 2 days. I kid you not, let's keep in mind this is not a science-based, right? This is just a personal experience. Every time I cut out this kind of beverages or something like that, either the next or after the next day, I get into some kind of depressive state. Like the body crashes, you know? So I think there can be a point where you can actually, with certain substances, that you can actually damage the whole thing. Where
all right, listen. Listen, the thing is that okay, let's look a bit science. Science is great, but I truly believe that the best science that you can have is yourself. And the best project that you can scientifically get, like, straight away data and knowledge, it's in yourself. It's not about going and reading somebody's scientifically proven whatsoever. If you do it on yourself, you get the necessary science that if you want to learn about you. Now, about this what you said with pre-workouts and so on. Well, of course, because what happens now when you are having like a pre-workout is like you're getting this boost, mental boost, and this high effect, and you're like, oh, ready to get on. And I took those, and my hands were like itching me so bad from those pre-workouts. So I know exactly the feeling, and you just feel like my heart was like pumping, and so you get like this like feeling of like euphoria
Very
and
weird.
explosive. Yeah, very, very weird. So of course, after, if you are like, you having this for a week and then you having 2-3 days, you are going off them, of course you're going to go into this state, because what you did, you placed your body into a stress, you increased all this chemical in your brain or whatever it was. You didn't let yourself to, let's say, self-regulate yourself and be like, okay, mentally, let's say, go through it. I want to have this much energy now, and I know that I have it within me, but you're using a substance which activates that. So your body is like, oh, what am I doing now? Like, it's just like this boom, and then all of a sudden it's not there. Of course you're gonna feel like, all depressed. And
so that is in certain common effects. Where I was going with that is that I do think that there are certain substances that could permanently create a damage. You know? And then, so breaking that type of addiction, I think is going to be even harder, because now you already damaged the whole natural system, right? We are talking about energetics and that kind of stuff, but the easiest example is with heroin. Yeah, heroin, it seems to be like one of those things that will destroy the actual system, the neurological system, right? And to get rid of that is not only the mental thing. That's where I'm going. Like, sometimes it's not only you can be aware, you can have already decided that that's a bad thing, but now you need to take care of a second element, which is like the whole effect that you have done to your body. So that's one thing, and that's why I identify that as that's its own classification of addictions, right? And then we have the other ones. We have the other ones that require actual will. The example right now, it was with the sugar, or we can talk about
but listen,
yes, Tom.
The way that I see it, it's pretty much with every addiction. There is first an initial stage, which is you have to stop it. So that's the first stage. Then second comes the withdrawal symptoms. So I think even with heroin or whatever it is, it's still the same stage. You have to stop it, and then you get the withdrawal symptoms. And then is when the mental side comes in, actually. It's not the... it comes from the beginning, like, okay, I'm noticing and I'm seeing what this is doing to me, or and you stop it if you can on your own. If no, they put you into a, I don't know, detox thingy. I don't know much about heroin, but maybe this is how it goes. Like they put you in this hospital or whatever it is. But you have the withdrawal symptom. Yeah. Well,
no, but yeah. It's because I mean, you are right in that regard, but somehow I think like wait.
Because like, what's the difference between an addict that is like having an addict that is on substance and an addict that is on sports, let's say, or take them away from that and see what's happening to both of them. It's the same withdrawal symptoms, like.
Okay, not to get out of off topic, but let me ask you this.
Yeah.
People with clinical depression, where you have to take antidepressant.
Yeah.
Do you think they need? Do you think they can be out of the antidepressant?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. They can. Listen, I suffered of depression and anxiety and many other things. Although nobody really knows, I don't talk about them because it's something that you don't really want to share that much whatsoever. But they did offer me to have diazepam and some other things for depression and anxiety and panic attacks. And I completely refused them because although I was kind of like, I was going through all these emotions and everything to the point that I was like getting suicidal. I knew that that's not who I was, and I knew that if I'm just like holding on a little bit to this rope that I have here hanging, I knew that it's gonna pass away. And I don't know, somehow I thought to myself, if I'm gonna take these pills, I'll just get numbed. I'll just get numbed to the point that I'm not gonna be able to understand these emotions and be in contact and in touch with what is happening now with my body. Because that's what happens in the end. It just numbs you down, or you don't feel anymore these emotions or whatever. But I've never ever took, to be honest. So I chose to go through all that and or therapy or whatever, although therapy didn't really work. But staying with that actually helped me, to be honest. It was hard, it took some years, but I chose it that way because I was scared of getting addicted actually and not being able to function on my own and having to depend on something to make me functionable. That thought just scares me to death. Like, I don't want to depend on something.
It's because you see, well, so maybe I am thinking on very extreme scenarios, right? Because I am thinking all the way to the damaging glands in the brain, like destroying something that will not be producing neurotransmitters. So I'm getting it to that extreme, and that's why I've been trying to point it out, because I completely agree, and I think that's the majority of cases where we have been diagnosed with a certain illness like depression. I have a lot of controversy with this anxiety thing, and I prefer the approach as you explain it, right? Sure, I went through something like that, and there was a point where, yeah, this is not making me function in the society, right? So I need to take a risk and take control of whatever I can get control, right? Because the idea is, I mean, it's like 100, 200 years ago, people just had to, pardon the language, right? They had to just suck it up. It's either you fight on or you die, right? So you have to overcome a lot of this kind of stuff. That's why I'm on the, we need to push as much as we can, building the mental strength. Sometimes having certain, like in this case, the antidepressive and that kind of stuff, they might help a little bit, but this is why we need to have like a very strict plan, that the idea is to get you out of the same pills, right? So you can do the thing by yourself. But yeah, at the end, everything falls into the mind, into the mental strength, as you said. Is like, I can put someone with heroin, take it away from the substance, and maybe put it in something else. But as long as that person is not working on mental strength, the person will fall eventually, right? And it's kind of, well, I don't know if I'm going to start moving on to the other questions, right? Because it's kind of funny when we talk about mental strength, because it's a non-visible thing. It's not something that is visible, quantifiable, or something like that. And when someone tells you, like, well, be stronger, mentally stronger, or something like that, sometimes can be scary, because you don't know how much stronger can you be, right? The only parameter is like, just keep doing it until you make it, right? I don't know what you think.
Well, I think mental strength definitely comes in different degrees to everybody. It's not the same. You know, my
Sure.
mental strength is different than yours, and yours different than mine. But I think ultimately, so far, what I've noticed with myself, like mental strength, it's about, to me, it's about putting myself through all the things that I normally don't want to make them, and taking myself out of that comfort zone, go through the pain, and but still push through it, like, and then at the end of that, like, no matter what it is that I'm doing, at the end
Mm.
of that, or during, actually, let's say, um, during a certain activity that I'm doing that brings me pain, and then I feel like I just want to give up, like it's too painful, then that's when I have like a self-talk with myself, and I'm like, all right, like, listen, you've made it all the way to here, like, yeah, just, you have to, you cannot stop, like, you cannot just think how, what I'm saying to myself, think how you will feel after if you're giving up, you know. So I choose, I don't want to feel that, because I know how I'm gonna feel, like I will just feel
Mm.
like a failure or a total loser or whatever. So I don't, I think, to me, it's getting away from this, um, you know, criticism, and to see myself that, hey, I am actually able to do that, you know, like I can do it. So then at the end of it is just, yeah, like, hey, I did it. And then,
Hold
of
it
course, then
right there.
it's a repeated cycle.
Uh-huh. Hold on. I think I got mixed two things.
Yeah.
Um, when you talk, you mentioned something about like you talk to yourself,
Yeah.
you put yourself like you go aggressive again to yourself
Yes.
uh, in order to do it, right? But then you
Mm-hmm.
tell me, maybe I heard it correctly, right? Like to put away the criticism.
Yes, because if I'm not going aggressively towards myself, I know that I can fall into this thing where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just chilling and I'm taking it easy. But then I fall all the way there, you know? So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
being my best, let's say, although I know I can do better. So
Mm-hmm.
then that's when, like, I'm starting to have these criticisms that, oh, you should have done that because you know you can do it, but I was
Okay.
just lazy, you know. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
being honest with myself, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so then let me go ahead and pitch you up the ways to approach this area, because it seems that we are talking about going aggressive, right? But I see
Everybody's
a lot,
different.
especially, yeah. Everybody's different, and
Everybody's
that's
different.
where I'm gonna go right now, because right now you
Mm.
see a lot of um, yes, I'm gonna say jokingly, the self-love,
Yeah, yeah,
the be
say it.
patient with
It's,
yourself and
yeah.
that kind of
Mm.
stuff, right?
Mm.
And there's, for me, both approaches, the aggressive one and the self nice and pat yourself and that kind of stuff, obviously they have their value. They have their value, and a lot, and we can see success in both systems.
Yeah.
Uh, but still, I'm just going to throw the question about the unhealthy sides of both systems. Like I would love to know that part, because if we are way too aggressive, all the way to
Mm.
the negative reinforcement, we might be coming, we might be creating something unhealthy mentally, because the only way that we can do something is by being against ourselves, or looks like. In the other way is like patting too much into your back, is like
Mm.
you're just going to make someone soft. And if I, in my personal opinion, making someone soft is anti-natural. And I say anti-natural because nature and the world is not to be in a soft place. Nature and life is always, something is going to collide with you and you have to survive. So I would like to hear your take on both things, like the
Okay, so
unhealthy sides of both things.
unhealthy sides.
from both sides.
Yeah. As far as I've been like observing myself, to be honest, like the only unhealthy side, to be honest, for me being like aggressive towards things I'm doing, it's just sometimes I cannot stop, to be honest. Like I don't know when to like put the brake. Although I learned and I get to know myself more and more. But the thing is that once I'm being like, let's say, aggressive in something that I know I have to make it, then it just becomes a habit. It's not anymore. It's not this every time constant effort. It's just becoming now, it's already there, implemented. I don't have, like, it's part of me already. So if I want to, let's say, I don't know, wake up at 5 a.m. every day and it's just dreadful to me, then I will have to, be a bit aggressive or remind myself to why actually I want to wake up. So always I have a reason to why.
I think part of the key right now is the reason, the object, the why, right?
Yeah, of course.
Can be controversial in some places. Is like sometimes you need to spank the little kid. But don't spank the kid just for spank it. Is that there has to be a why, a reason, a progress, or something like that. I think that's a very good key in this side, right? One is identify, be aware that when you will do it, there's a risk of failure, of like going to the extreme. That's what I mean by failure. And what you said, like, yeah, sometimes I don't stop and I screw up, but now I've learned it. So that's one. And the second thing is just keep in mind the why you decide to do this actual thing, right? I think in order to not fall on the unhealthy side of that strategy, you need those two things.
Yeah.
Give me the other one.
The other one, the path one, to be honest, I dislike it a lot. Like, why I dislike it? Because I tried it. It doesn't work with me. Like, I try to be like, yeah, self-loving, blah, blah, blah. Like, I love myself. This is not the fact. I love myself and I'm really compassionate with myself. But I feel like too much of that thing just turns me into this mushy, squishy, and everybody can like just step on me and like, and I'm not that. Yeah. I know now who I am. I'm not that. Like, I have an aggressive attitude and that's fine, but I have an aggressive attitude into doing things and getting them done and pushing my ass and just reaching that which I know that I can be, and stop being this mishy-cushy, bitty-picky, because that just doesn't work for me. Yeah, I mean, So...
Let me just tell you... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean... now I found the balance between the two, to be honest. Like, I have these, because, like, for example, I still meditate sometimes only when I feel, or I always hug myself at night, to be honest, and like I say like nice words like, oh, I love you, Vasi, you did so. Like, I have this thing, but it's not something that it's always there. Like, I have it when I need it, Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I kind of feel it. Let me quick story time. So I think I told you that very vaguely. I told you that I went through a very kind of troubling situation with an illness, right? And it was one of those things where I needed to have some certain type of medication, right? And then the medication stopped. But then I start having these attitudes of what was like indifference and that kind of irritability and and that kind of stuff and yada yada, right? And then obviously you start going to therapy and that kind of stuff.
You have to sometimes.
And this is the funny thing. At that time, my dad was like very protective. Funny thing, and mind the word, typically typically or stereotypically the role of the female, which is more protective, more pity-patty, and the other words that you just used, right?
Squishy mushy.
Mishimashi, cushy cash. So, and it was useful at its moment. Yeah. But I remember very clearly that there was a point when my mom came in, and my mom was the one who said, like, son, I know you're struggling. I know this has been difficult for all of us, but you need to grab your balls, squeeze them very hard, and start doing the fucking shit.
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly.
Yeah, and it was kind of revealing, right? Like it's like, yeah, right. Like you need to have sometimes the coach that will slap you in the face and get on it. And funny thing, I eventually kind of function a little bit more with that negative reinforcement.
I would not say it's a negative reinforcement. I don't see it as a negative thing, to be honest. I think that people nowadays are becoming way too soft, though. Like, it's just like,
yeah,
like
maybe
you have to filter everything out.
I think it's
like...
called negative reinforcement just for the only fact that it's like using aggressiveness. I think it's only called not because it's negative,
but because it's aggressive.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
I don't see aggressive. It's like, okay, it's not aggressive as in like I come and attack you, and you know, but you need some type of aggressive as your mom told you, like, I know it's difficult, but you need to grab your shit and, you know,
yeah, okay. That's disgusting.
Sometimes you have to keep your shit, you know. But yeah, like, you have to grab your balls and go. And how do you grab your balls? You cannot be like, oh, you have to hold the man and move, you know.
Someone is watching, please. They need to clip this moment, please. Please become a therapist, Bessie. Become a therapist and please use that. Like... and you need to. This is not a circus, okay?
I mean, really, you know? Oh my god. Oh man. Okay. No, but really, I mean, you cannot go, you know, like, how do I hold? You have to grab it and go with it, you know, like, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely both of them. They do have like, they have their place, you know, like, I think this is what sometimes we maybe lost touch with, like, we don't know when it's time for being aggressive, when it's time for being kind, when it's time for laughing, when it's time for being serious, and all these things, you know. We always try to keep this one way only and all the time be the same, constant, but we can't be constant. Like, what the hell? Like,
it's a very uncontroversial opinion, controversial opinion, actually. Like, you cannot live only through capitalism. You need to live. You need to have both systems running. No, and actually, yeah. I think you said it. That from time to time, maybe at night or something like that, is when you become a little bit and it makes a lot of sense, because night and going to rest and that kind of stuff, I think that's a very well-placed moment where you can be like that, right? Like the whole thing is like calm. That's a good approach. That's a good
yeah,
one.
At least to me, it really works. Like, it took me some time to like find, let's say, my way, or see what works for me, what doesn't work for me. But I had a lot of trials and errors, let's say, and this is very necessary actually into discovering. But ultimately, I dropped all those and just did how I actually felt. Like, If I feel like crying in this moment, I will just cry. If I feel like I want to laugh in this moment, I laugh. If I feel like just letting my emotions come out and not oh no, now is not the time for it. No, it's always now is the right time for it, and it's gonna happen, and that's it. Like yeah. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But no balls for me. Yeah, but it's interesting. But actually, I'm gonna bring my nicotine thing, actually, how I got rid of it. So the quick story that I will say, which this is how I got rid
These little
through.
kids, cover your ears.
There's gonna be a lot of swearing, kids. No, I hope we don't have kids right now. No. But yeah, so I used to be a smoker, like, for a very long time. Not many people know, maybe my close friends know. But I was into sports since always, but I've been a smoker up to, let's see, from year 2006. So I was 16 when I started smoking. And up to the year 2017 August, more precisely. So very recently that I quit smoking. So it took me a long time to like quit it. I tried many times. I tried going the easy way and be like, yeah, I'm reducing it. But then the more I was reducing it, the more I wanted it more and more. Like I couldn't like obtain myself from having it like reduced, let's say in moderation. And then then I tried a couple of times cold turkey. Like I was always saying, oh yeah, this is my last cigarette. So I was like, I was like, yeah, this is my last cigarette. And then I was like throwing away the packet. And then next day I was again buying another packet. So I had this process of buying and throwing for at least a month. Then I gave it up for like few weeks. And then again, I came back to it. Mainly because sometimes when I was around people that were smoking, my excuse was like, oh yeah, people are smoking, I also smoke. So I didn't have that, strong will. But ultimately, actually, and I told you this before, I did found out that I had like these pre-cancer cells, and that really scared the shit out of me at one point. And it took me about a month. I was again like being like, oh yeah, now I'll give it up, and then again pick it up. So I couldn't. I had this battle within me. Like I knew I had this, let's say, health condition that was developing. And then I had this where I was like, oh, but I cannot let this go. So at one point I was in the toilet. I was actually in Greece when this happened, and I was a photographer there. And I remember going at the toilet, taking a pee. And then as I came out, I was like, I had again this talk with myself. Oh yeah, this is gonna be the last cigarette. So I started like rolling the cigarette, and the mirror was like right there in front of me. So I looked at myself in the mirror, and I thought, the initial thing that came in my head is like, how pathetic you are. And that right there, when that came and I looked at myself, and it was like, how pathetic you are. I just couldn't take that. So I kind of like, I said back, let's say, to that voice, like, I am not pathetic. You are not gonna control me. I'm not gonna let these cigarettes anymore to control me. And then I said, I had this aggressiveness in me, So I said, fuck it. I throw the cigarette that I was preparing. I put everything in the bin, not in the toilet, in the bin. I closed it and walked out. And since that day, 23rd of August, I haven't looked back. And that's it. Cold turkey. I dropped it. But I had that aggressiveness and that thing, like, I couldn't accept to be weak, I think, or that's how I saw myself in that moment, because I was letting myself controlled by this, although I knew I had this health condition coming, so yeah. So that to me,
it's funny, right?
Yeah, it's funny the way
that it was. It seems from well, first of all, it's impressive, and this talks about the importance that event has for you, that you remember it with such a detail. Right?
Oh yeah,
it's impressive,
there.
Right? Like all before that after taking a pee, that yeah, that got me there.
Oh.
But and also it's like it's impressive, and we need to keep that in mind, that it was more about in my week, oh hell no, than actually having all a physical, tangible thing that was killing you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is also important to note that this is why we need to go through the mental part first, right? Because if we cannot find like the why or the purpose of where is the actual issue, yeah, I think we cannot. It's going to be very hard to overcome it, right? Well, first of all, I told you the whole story. I'm not going to say it. Like it's my story of quitting smoking. I consider it more funny, and because I'm fat, and I well, it's not that I was weak. Well, technically, yeah, because it was because of a bet with my students. Yeah, I remember that I told you, like, it was a bet with my students, and like I am not losing to all these brats. And obviously, I did not. I didn't smoke as much as for that period, long time, right? But it is interesting, like, to see like what is important to us. In this case, it was your strength, like mentally strength. Like, or am I weak? Oh hell no! And then you do it. And all of us, we need to find that part. Um, not many people, but sometimes I got asked like why I don't get shredded in the gym and that kind of stuff, right? Like change the diet and the diet habits and that kind of thing. And I am very conscious about that part, because it's like I have absolutely zero reason to do such thing. Like, sure, it would be cool to see like the six pack or something like that. It would be cool, but it's like it ain't that important. It's not that important, right?
Right.
So that's why it has never happened, because it's not important. It doesn't affect me, yada 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 yada. But it's also noticeable at a moment when something with really importance comes in, and you throw everything to the sink. Yeah. I do understand that for some people, doing something like quitting something cold turkey is challenging. Sometimes it's more about the fear. Yeah, the fear of losing the stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I will admit, and I will keep my flag, my imaginary flag of coward right now, that having this talk has made me think like, should I do one of those stupid challenges just to see if I can do it? Like quitting sugar, but not fruit, obviously. Like processed sugars and that kind of stuff. Am I capable of doing it? And I think about it, and internally, my coward flag is like, you feel the fear. You think, you visualize, you will not have this thing. And then it's like, no. You try to hug it more.
Yeah, this is the thing actually with sugar, to be honest. When I gave up sugar, why did I give up sugar? Okay, well, I had this this skin condition on my face, very very bad. But also I had a lot of inflammation in my body and a lot of pain and depression, and I couldn't anymore handle myself every day. Like I was in so much pain, and getting out of bed for me was yeah.
I'm sorry, Vasi, just one question before you do that.
Sure.
I would like to understand first, like when we talk about sugars, what specifically things are you talking about?
Well, anything, sugar, raw sugar, even fruits. When I started, I gave up everything, carbs, fruits, sugar, processed food, everything. Like I went again I went cold turkey. Like I was only eating meat and vegetables. That's it. When I started like this process, let's say. So yeah, because I had a lot of inflammation like in body and my mental side, I was weak. My focus level was just like very bad, and many things that I just, again, I think I couldn't handle myself anymore. I'm like, what is this? Is not life, you know? Like this is not how life's supposed to be, or how I am meant to be as a human being. So I did started to like get a bit more knowledge and read about different diets and so on. And I came across initially this carnivore diet, but I thought that's a bit too extreme. And then I came across keto diet, which is the one. Well, it's for some time it's okay to do it, and I think everybody should experiment at least to try it and see. But yeah, I started first with keto, and it was hard at the beginning. I had 3 weeks withdrawal. I was very irritated, getting angry easily. You couldn't be around me. You couldn't handle me because I couldn't handle myself. It was horrible. But I pushed through, and about a month, I saw like a stabilization in my energy levels and everything. My inflammation, they started to get out, but I was still drinking alcohol and coffee. I was still having it, so I was still getting pains in my joints and headaches. And then I said to myself, let me fast, and then after the fast I will start the carnivore diet. So I went for like 1 month carnivore to see if indeed is the food or is just my mental, like am I mentally ill, you know? And yeah, I did it 1 month and I felt amazing. I have to say that everything went away. No more inflammation. My mood was amazing. Everything was, I was just happy. Like I was on this happy pill, you know? The only thing was that it was not sustainable for me. I didn't have enough energy to like do my daily, let's say, go to the gym, be active and stuff like this. But the other part was really great. So I said, okay, let me start adding back again slowly vegetables, and then I started reintroducing food one by one and see how my body and mental side reacted to certain foods. So yeah, I started adding, and now I found, let's say, the perfect diet for me. I eat pretty much the same every day. One reason is this, because these are the ingredients that work for me. They give me the best possible nutrition, but also at the same time, it's efficient. I don't have to think a lot, to be honest. I have one thing with this: keep everything efficient. But yeah, so right now I do eat some fruits, very few fruits, and but still no sugar. If I eat sugar, I get depressed. Like some chemical, something in my brain happens. Like I get in this mood and I'm like, you cannot do anything with me. It's yeah.
You heard it, people. Do not give sugar to this one.
Oh no,
I don't want to get killed at the next day. So what I like a lot from the 2 examples of quitting something right now that you just mentioned is like it's actually 2 different approaches to something. Yeah. Well, sure. It was maybe the second one I couldn't consider it like totally cold turkey, but it was like the whole decision of doing this thing and
well, it was cold turkey because
you usually do.
But it was cold turkey because I didn't gradually like, okay, let me take this out this week, this out next week. I decided tomorrow I'm gonna start, and that's it. And I went with it. And I said, I said, no matter how I will feel, I have to see what happens and how my body reacts. And you have to give it at least 3 weeks to see, 3-4 weeks to see.
But so somehow I see it a little bit different from the smoking part, right? Maybe because it's only smoking is one thing and you just put it apart and that's it, right? But this one required me, in order to get to where you are right now, which is presumably healthy balance. You went through many weeks, months of doing certain things. Sure, you identify, I don't want this substance in my body, right? And then you start changing your eating habits. It took time until where you are right now. And I think for everybody that might be either listening to us or hearing us, is like, that's another aggressive, progressive approach, because these kind of things sometimes require patience. Yeah,
Absolutely.
The place where I could say that has happened, in, like, if I were to use an example, is is in the financial stuff. Because I used to have very bad habit of buying electronics and that kind of stuff. And the fact that it's kind of funny, I mentioned a moment ago with also with the sugar thing, is if we are afraid of losing something, we need to be careful with that, because that immediately is going to trigger a double down on getting that something, right? It's going to be only until we have the courage to take the firm decision. I will align a little bit with you in this case, like the aggressive decision of quitting this thing. Doesn't preferably, if it's cold turkey, fantastic, but if it's going to take like a couple of weeks or something like that, just be aggressive and do not lose focus. Yeah. Because if we do not have that mental component on point, it's going to be very difficult to remove any kind of addictive behavior. I mentioned the financial thing. I do consider the consumerism also an addiction in that regard, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you start buying things that you do not actually need on your day by day, right? And it's the same system. It's like, this fear is making me consume even more, right? Actually, the financial part for me has been a little bit more. The decision was aggressive, but the approach was the patty pat and the other things that we said a moment ago, right? And it has taken a little bit more of time to show some progress. And yeah, people, let me tell you that I'm learning this in a very, very advanced age.
It's okay.
But it has to be done. It has to be done.
Yeah.
It's worth if you don't do it, right?
But this is the thing, because it really doesn't matter at what stage you are in life. Like, it's, if you get started at 60, 50s, 30s, 40s, it doesn't matter where you are in life. It's good that you identify it and you try to make a change for you, of course. And
the thing that is also super important, I forgot about this one, is to make sure as much as possible that you will follow through the plan. Because if I aggressively decide to do something and I do not comply with that, I start creating resistance. It's kind of like my excuses develop more in an immune system, right? This is why you have a lot of people, the majority of people, failing in diets, right? Like, you already create this behavior. The brain already knows that, yeah, you will just be super decided only 4 days and forget about it on the 5th. That is a very problematic thing to educate the brain. So we need to be also really careful with that one.
Yes, I see. But it's not the brain, it's the mind that talks to you. But it's it's yeah, I see. Yeah, so you have that little voice that, yeah, again you'll do the same as you did with XY, or you know, like not encouraging you, not supporting you, let's say. He's trying to put you down and
educate a bad behavior. We educate a bad behavior. Yeah. And that's why I say, like, it's like we can create immunity to progress.
Yeah, because you start creating all these things, as you said, like, you're just gonna do it for a day and that's it, and then you go back, or no, you're not. You said this last week, or you tried this several times already. Like, just keep being you, because that's what you know. yeah. This, but you have to get rid of that shit. Like, that shit in your head is not real. Like, you gotta cut it out, man, because it's holding you in one place, and that's when, to me, the aggression goes in. Like, and that's how I use it. Like, I use it to shut that down and maybe prove it. I don't know. I do it. Yeah, and follow through. And
you do not negotiate with terrorists.
No. Yeah, true. I don't negotiate. And one important thing that I learned about myself is that I don't do moderation. I don't know what moderation means for me. Well, I do know. The thing actually is that I am choosing not to do anything in moderation, because it requires a lot of energy and mental thinking and planning of how much of this should I have and how much of that should I have. So I know that if something, so if I know that something actually I don't really need it, I'm not dealing with it. Like, if I need it, okay, yeah, I will make some time for it and implement it. But if it's, let's say, alcohol, it's okay to have in moderation. Sugar, it's okay to have in moderation. Or cheat meals, it's okay to have in moderation. If I know that I don't need those, I don't need to have them in moderation. I don't need to have them at all. So I just cut it out of my life, and that's it.
I'm gonna go again to your example on the diet, and I think it's totally true, and I agree completely. Beware of moderation. Beware of moderation, or being tolerant to yourself, in the sense of, if you show an exit to your strategy, it's likely that that's going to happen. This is why.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I shouldn't say this kind of stuff. This is why maybe sometimes we need a little bit of authoritarian governments. Because if you give them a little bit of freedom, the thing is not going to work. I cannot believe I'm saying this kind of stuff right now.
Wait, you said authoritarian girlfriends? Did you said authoritarian
Next question. Next question. We're not talking about this. That was like a month ago. Okay, you lost your chance to ask me about that kind of thing.
All right, we gotta make a next podcast.
Stay on topic. No, but yeah, but what I mean is, like, especially with ourselves, if we're going to start doing something, and we start putting like these mini exits, these moderations, or that kind of stuff, now you are putting options to auto-sabotage and failure, right? I think now that you're speaking about it, even more it comes to my mind that at least there's this subjective 21 days to create a habit, right? But this is a subjective thing, at least from my point of view.
Yeah, that's not the.
But there has to be a period of time where no negotiation. It has to be like hard. It has to like with the horses, like they put these things and like
you have to me, I have to be that way. I know that if I'm not that way, I will go to other paths, and I don't want to go there because I know how that feels like, and no, thank you. So I would rather just cut out of my life. And even people, like, I'm cutting out of my life people that I know are not they are either pulling me down or not being according to my value. I cut everything out. Like, it's...
Ooh, that sounds like a conversation for another time, because that, for me, while I agree with what you're saying, That I think over there I have a wider tolerance, at least on how I see people. But I
Okay.
get where you're going, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
get
can
where you're
have
going
this
with
for
that one.
another thing. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, great.